Alright, hello guys, welcome back to another week of me trying to be profitable. And this week was pretty crazy. We started off pretty good with some nice trades, and midway through the week I received some news which changed the amount I was risking quite a bit. You guys will see that I was really pushing it this week to get this account out of drawdown, and I think you guys will really enjoy the trades by quite a bit. So yeah, we'll just get straight into the trades. Alright, the main things I saw was InWog and the 4-hour plus daily highs, which price was moving towards. Price seemed to be respecting bullish confluences, so we could see price continue higher and target those high time controls on liquidity. And we did just sweep out the 4-hour highs on ES, so I was aware that we could develop an SMT with ES as the lagging index, and we made equal lows on 1 minute and was currently getting a large push up, so we could expect maybe price to fail to sweep the 4-hour high before pushing down to target the sell side draws. There wasn't much low time imbalances to work with at the moment though. I left out some imbalances that price was moving away from them, and I'd rather base my trade off of more recently made imbalances, so I'll be waiting and seeing what gets developed. I was just waiting for a good setup, mainly to see price retrace on a 5-minute imbalance and where I could then snipe my entry down to the lows, and there were quite a few lows, and since we were moving really nicely down, I wanted to enter, and the price continued plummeting lower and lower before sweeping out all my targets. And I mainly wanted to wait for a 3-minute fair value gap to develop, which was overlapping the 5-minute fair value gap, and the overlap was a really nice level I wanted to see a reaction off of. Price just ran, so I ended up not taking a trade, which I'm okay with because it is Monday. It's a good chance to get me accustomed to the charts again, though today's setup was actually really good. And what I could have done was zoomed in more on the low time frame after price confirmed the break past the 5-minute imbalance as the key level, and I was too focused on seeing the perfect entry I didn't account for price on the low time frame already disrespecting and retracing before continuing down. I did see price respect a 1-minute imbalance for bearish, which was within the 5-minute imbalance, and that would have been a very good setup. And another setup I missed was a 1-minute imbalance that was developed after price had already confirmed the break, which theoretically should have been the one I went for. Price ended up retracing really nicely and respected the imbalance before continuing to push down to hit all my targets. So yeah, too absorbed in searching for the perfect setup that I wasn't in the moment. Though it's alright, I know the mistake and it should be an easy fix, but yeah, it's just alright way to start off the week. Alright, so looking at the high time frame, we were respecting bearish confluences like the 4-hour order block, and we had also inversed the 1-hour fair value gap, creating an inverse fair value gap. And I did see that there were LRLs above the 1-hour fair value gap, and looking at the low time frame confluences, we do have a 15-minute fair value gap I wanted as a key level. And I wanted to see if price disrespected the 15-minute and created an inverse fair value gap. If we did disrespect, then I'll place an entry for longs to the LRLs. And I most likely won't take it to the top of the LRLs since the high time frame was still in a bearish trend. And price did end up disrespecting the 15-minute imbalance, so I was looking for an entry. There wasn't much confluences within the 15-minute fair value gap for me to snipe, so only a really small 5-minute fair value gap, which is where I placed my entry. And I also realized that we could risk more contracts now, since I think they're pushing back the pip size back to normal, so I could risk like around 5 cons this trade. Though after price confirmed the break, there wasn't much power to bring us to that level, and there was also a cluster of low time imbalances, so I placed my entry for continuation as well, just above the recent high, and price ended up tapping that continuation entry and I was in. I risked less contracts with the continuation trade just because my stop loss was less set in stone, so I wanted to risk less. And we were stalling for quite a bit before the build up to market open, and during market open we got some really strong bearish power which tapped into the low time frame imbalances, and we got a really nice push up which hit my partial profit for a small win of $90. And from that I moved my stop loss to break even and left the trade going. Price was being quite volatile, so I was more aggressive with my stop loss and put it at the bottom of the newly formed 1-minute candle. Though this wasn't really necessary as price ended up shooting up to hit my full TP for a nice win of 160. And I quite like the play I did today because the main thing I wanted to get down was the balance between aggressiveness and patience. Yesterday's trade was because of a lack of aggressiveness that I missed out on the trade, but also being too aggressive isn't good either, as it will lead you to jumping into unfavorable trades. So the main thing I was focusing on was the balance between the two, and I think I did that really well today. What I could have done better though was just being more trusting of how price was moving. Since we were stalling at the cluster of low time imbalances, we could see a push up, and I think I did adjust well, though I could have placed my entry tighter because price was already respecting bullish confluences on the 1-minute and also the 3-minute order block. And this could have been the confirmation for us to place the entry above, let's say, the 1-minute order block instead of the high. Though either way, I'm really happy with how today played out. Alright, so for Wednesday, since TopSwap was so kind as to give us a free reset, I decided I'll try to pass the account by the end of the week, or like try to get it out of drawdown, and that meant risking a lot more. I'll probably be risking around 500 per trade because I still have around 1.4k drawdown, so I split it up to 3 days, probably around 500 each trade. So yeah, still treating each day the same though, going for that clean setup after confirmation. Anyways, looking at the high time frame, we do seem pretty bearish currently, with price respecting the 4-hour gap, or bearish after tapping into it. There was a 1-hour fair value gap overlap with a nearly formed 1 hour inverse fair value gap, so I wanted to see the reaction of this range on the low time frame. Looking at the low time frame, there was a 15-minute fair value gap, which was also a 5-minute fair value gap, which price was tapping into, so I wanted to see the reaction off of this level. I also wanted to see more confluences get developed, which I can then get a better idea for a trade off of. Waiting for some confirmation, we started getting some strong bullish power off of market open, and price ended up pushing up, and I placed my snipe entry at the 3-minute order block, which was within the 5-minute order block, which was going to form. And price did end up creating a change in state delivery on the 5-minute and formed the 5-minute order block, which was also where it tapped into my entry and I was in. And my final TP placed at the top of the LRLs and my partials placed at the top of the 1 hour fair value gap, as it was a positive in RR. And price ended up moving down initially as the 5-minute order block was just formed, so price wanted to fill in the imbalances, and we got a push up of the retest, and price moved quite quickly to hit my partial for a nice one of $360. Around that, I moved my stop loss to break even and watched price continue moving. Since price had just respected a 1-minute order block in relation to the bullish trend, I moved my stop loss up intending to trail it, though price ended up coming down to break even, giving us a nice win of $400 today. Today, I would say I could have taken my final TP out where I took partials because I missed out on some imbalances which were respected for bearish. Price was moving in a bearish trend on the high time, and price was also tapped into a 15-minute fair value gap plus 5-minute fair value gap overlap, which ended up being a nice snipe area for a bearish trade down to the prominent lows. I was more focused on the bullish move because I favored it more, and that's what I saw in the moment, and I missed out on the bearish move. I could have gone for this trade since there were plenty of confluences backing it up, though I'm alright with how today went. I don't need to risk giving back my profits, so yeah, ends of Wednesday. Alright, so looking at the high time today, there was quite a few imbalances to work with, and I mainly wanted to see the reaction of these overlapping levels. And we did have equal lows net at all this overlap, and with the high time being such a big magnet for price, I was pretty confident that we would hit this area, and because of that, I was looking for a trade on the low time, perhaps of the recent low time imbalances like the 5-minute BPR down to the overlaps. And that did end up playing out, though I ended up missing that trade, which is alright. I missed it because my entry was placed a little bit too high. It was initially at a good spot, but since price was somewhat holding and respecting bullish on the 1-minute time frame, I wanted to wait and hold to see if we could fill a bit of entry. The price ended up just running down and filled the area, so that was alright. And I did end up finding an area for an entry, though since the bearish holding was so strong, I decided to place a continuation entry at the recent low, with the thought that if price got through the level, it would have to disrespect a bunch of low time frame imbalances, and that would mean the bearish power would have to be really strong, allowing us to sweep out all the draws and liquidity to the south side. And though this ended up not being the case, as price ended up coming up and hitting my stop loss pretty quickly for a loss of 260. And out of that first trade, price was moving to the area I initially wanted to enter at, and because of that, I ended up placing the original entry that I had, and price ended up hitting it pretty quickly. The price was stalling quite a lot in this trade, and we were getting some strong bullish power, and I wanted to see how price reacted to the 5-minute fair value gap, which we were currently in. Though when the candle formed, price ended up forming on legit the edge of the fair value gap, so I didn't even know if it respected or disrespected. Though because I looked in the high time and saw that the hourly was about to form, and it was looking pretty strong for bullish because we're looking like we're going to develop a bearish order block, and that would be retested into, and we also just saw down some lows on the hourly too. And because of that, I tried my stop loss pretty aggressively, and price continued stalling for a bit before finally coming out to my stop loss for a small win of $90. And today there was a lot of things I could have done better. For one, the initial trade that I missed at the start was a really clean one, and I should have been more picky after that occurred because I didn't have the benefit of having looked through the trade thoroughly and had enough time to think about it. And with that second trade I took, I could have just stuck it till the hourly formed and saw that the order block hadn't been formed. We were still bearish in terms of power, so that meant sticking through the trade. And the trade ended up hitting full TP, which is alright. I'm happy that the bias was right, and it's just entries that I fucked in the end. Also my emotions, because the first trade was more due to FOMO, justifying the continuation entry. But yeah, it's alright. I am more learning for me to nibble on and digest, so yeah, let's move on to tomorrow. Alright guys, so I actually forgot that we had Good Friday, so yeah, that ends off the trades for this week. Since I'm still in drawdown, I'm gonna use my free resets and see if I can pass the account within the next few days next week, because after that I haven't rebuilt anyway, so we'll just see what happens. But yeah, some clean trades this week, just a little unfortunate that I slipped up a bit on the last day due to my emotions. I really should focus more on what I should be doing instead of thinking with my emotions. I think that's the main thing that I let slip, so I need to control my emotions better. I'll think about it over the weekend and reflect on my trades, and then we'll come back to see if I can pass the account within a week. So yeah, main takeaways this week was that I should be confident in my plays and that I should maintain my patience better and be able to control my actions. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to move forward as a trader and as a person. So yeah, that's about it for this week. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.